All right, team. Today we're going to talk about how we can be stable on steeper features. Just on Ben Lomond trails here, just behind the Lutz track. We've got this cool little section here where I can see that the gradient here is fairly flat. Now, the first cone here represents the change in gradient to a bit of a steeper angle. The second cone represents the change in gradient again to a nice flat angle. So now we're going to see how we can adapt our body movements to make sure we stay stable on this track. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'll be approaching this feature in a fairly tall and relaxed position. The reason I'm going to be tall is because it's just easier to stay stable when you're taller. Now, just as the gradient changes right over there and it gets steeper, I'm going to trade my taller, stable position for a more lower and maneuverable position, because I want to be in a spot where I can maneuver the bike in case there's a loss of traction or I hit something that I wasn't expecting. Now, as the gradient flattens out again, I want to return back into my stable, tall position. And those are my goals, and we'll see how that works out. Alright guys, so that went well. Let's try and dissect it down a little bit. So technically I am approaching the section nice and tall to ensure my stability remains consistent. Now as the gradient is getting steeper, I'm getting lower and closer to the bike to make sure I can be a bit more maneuverable. I like to call this the roller coaster moment. Now for you guys, until you get the timing right, it is okay to get lower a little bit earlier to avoid any mistakes. Here's the key though. I'm staying low on the bike until the gradient flattens out again, allowing me the perfect timing and coordination to return back to my tall, strong, stable position. All right, so here's a task. Normally, I'd put a pine cone down there, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to use a cone. I'm just going to place the cone right here where the gradient flattens out, and the task for me is to ride down and crush this cone. With the goal in mind to crush the cone, this is essentially going to prompt me to stay lower for longer so I can actually crush it. And this will avoid me leaning back on the bike or even pushing the bike away as I'm riding this section. Let's watch how.